Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today on your lunch break. Just a little bit of a reminder, the contents of today's presentation were developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, our contents that are included in this presentation don't necessarily represent the policies of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume any type of federal endorsement. So, Family Matters PTIC is not a legal service agency, and we cannot provide you with legal advice or representation in any way. Family Matters is not intended to provide you any type of legal support, so please do not consider us a substitution for legal advice. We also here at Family Matters, or FMPTIC as we call ourselves, do not provide CEUs or professional development credit of any type. So if you're looking for that type of thing, we don't provide it, unfortunately. However, we can provide you a certificate of completion after the presentation today. So if that's something you're interested in, just email me after today's presentation. So I just shared a copy of the PDF in the chat, along with a few other important information that you might need to know while attending today's presentation. We are going to try to utilize the Q&A box as much as possible for questions so that I can address them at the end of today's presentation. So what is a parent center? Well, Family Matters is one parent center that serves the United States of America. We solely serve the individuals in Illinois. So we're here to help parents, professionals, and self-advocates or students understand their educational rights and their responsibilities regarding special education services. And we do that in lots and lots of different ways. We offer direct support to families who contact our office, to professionals that contact our office, and to self-advocates that contact our office. We might help you understand your child's 504 plan. We might help you request a plan from your school. We might help you understand your annual IEP, the goals associated to it, or your progress. The possibilities go forever and ever of how we can support you individually, but we also support individuals this way too by doing presentations, whether they be live, in person, webinars, lunch and learns like we're having today. We do that in a number of different ways. So CIPR, or the Center for Parent Information and Resources, is our parent center hub. So they also offer a lot of guidance and information for parents, professionals, and self-advocates to understand more about special education. My name is Abby Mars. I'm a transition facilitator and a Charting the Life course ambassador here at Family Matters Parent Training and Information Center. I am a middle-aged woman with brown hair and a round face. I'm smiling currently. I identify myself first and foremost as a mom. I am a mom to four individuals, all of them adults, and all four of my children had some type of special education or accommodation plan in school. Things I value most: that I am a scout leader. I'm a scout master for my local inclusive scouting troop with Scouting America, as you can see in my picture there. I've got a picture of two of my boys in the picture there, and of course I am also a friend and a co-worker. You can see a picture of myself and my co-worker Carrie Potter attending the Charting the Life course Nexus in last year. So today we're going to talk about from school to home, keeping behavior supports consistent. So if you were lucky enough to join us last week, my coworker Zubida gave us a very long presentation, a very wonderful presentation about understanding behavior and how it might impact your students' success at school. We talked about really analyzing the function of the behavior, naming that behavior, making sure that our students that have behaviors that are impacting their education also have the supportive plans or a behavior intervention plan in place. So now that we understand all of that, right? And if we don't, we can go back and watch our wonderful video on YouTube. We're now going to talk about keeping those supports consistent. So the link between school to home and how to carry over those behavior intervention plans to home as well, so that you're doing the same exact thing that school is doing and our student can be successful. So first, let's talk about consistency, why it matters. So consistent behavior supports are crucial for our children's development and well-being. Whether they have a behavior intervention plan at school or not, it's very important that both parties are as consistent as possible and we're both meeting each other's expectations. So for example, if your teacher's expectation is that Elijah read 20 minutes each night of a reading book or an AR book, whatever your district calls them, you should try your best to fit that into your family's schedule in the evening time and support that. Okay, so we keep that expectation consistent across all boards. If it's very important that for you that your children use yes ma'am, no sir, no sir, yes sir at home, we want to make sure we communicate that back with the teacher. So we are reinforcing regular things like positive feedback. We're enforcing habits that stick. We want to make sure that we're reinforcing that learning. So regular application of strategies help children to really understand and meet expectations. If they think they can do one thing at home that they can't do at school, sometimes that's really hard for our students to understand the difference. So we want to build trust not only between the school and home, but with our students as well. So when our students see that consistency, they trust not only their educators but home as well, to be universal across both areas. So the likelihood of success is better when there is consistency. So, key strategies for us as parents. How can we help with this? I love routines. We are an autism family. There are several members of my family that are on the spectrum. So we keep routines very sacred in our house, and I tend to share those routines with our educators, so that they can understand how we function at home and what spaces in our life and our daily routine are cut out for school expectations. So establish and follow similar daily routines and schedules, even when your child's not at school. So if it's the weekend, if it's the holiday, try to get them up and ready in the morning around the same time. Now, obviously, if you're like my kiddo and the bus comes at 6:30 and you want to sleep till 7:30 on the weekend, I'm not blaming you for that, sis. I do the same thing, right? But we try in the best way we can to keep things consistent. Of course, shared language cues. So use the same words and phrases as the school is using in your home. And visuals. So this signals behavior expectations and feedback. So if your school has certain policies, you've agreed to those policies, or they're in the BIP, maybe you're trying to take out the word no or rephrase things, try to be consistent of that with home. Remember, when you said at that IEP meeting and you agreed to put this behavior intervention plan in place, or you said at that teacher conference and they talked to you about language that they're going to use in the classroom, you agreed to that. So try to be consistent with that at home as well. Unified reward system. Ask the school what they're doing for reward systems at school so that you can replicate that at home. Are they using a token system? Are they using positive language? What's going on? And then you can reinforce that at home. Of course, regular communication. We talk about this a lot in our parent engagement classes, but make sure that you have found a way that you can regularly communicate dialogue between you and the school. Okay. Check in once a week, check in every other day, whatever kind of system you guys have established, make sure that you're doing that and keeping it consistent so that your student can be as successful as possible. If your school utilizes Class Dojo or as Spawn or whatever apps that are out there now, use that check-in, not just about the bad things either. Okay. If Michael came home last night and really loved doing his math project, send that back to the teacher. Keep that communication open so that you guys know how to communicate with each other, both about the good and the bad. And of course, structured environments. So provide a predictable and organized and calm space that supports focused activities, especially important with homework time after school. Okay. So homework time after school, I'm a big believer, should not be all of your evening. If you're spending hours doing homework, there's something going wrong. We need to have a meeting. We need to sit down and talk about that. It is not typical for a second grader to spend 3 hours doing homework in the evening. It's not even typical for a high schooler to spend that long doing homework in the evening. Okay. There's a gap somewhere there. We need to talk about that. But the space in which your student does their homework, make sure it's a calm space that has little distractions, okay, that has pencils at the ready, that has a pencil sharpener at the ready. A lot of times my kiddos when they were younger would do homework while I was cooking dinner. So I kind of wanted them close enough where I could peek on them, but not distract them too much. Sometimes, like my youngest, he needs very much, we call it mirrored support. He doesn't need me to do anything but sit there. So I try to make sure that I understand that about his learning. His teachers communicated that with me about his learning. So I make homework time a time when I can sit next to him. Maybe I do work as well, but I'm close enough to him. So talk to your teachers about your students' learning styles and the supports they need to do their work in the classroom, and try your best to replicate that in the evening. Now, I understand that sometimes that can be hard. Okay. You might have another kiddo that needs different support. You might be working. You might have baseball, scouts going on. Completely get that. if you're struggling, communicate that with your team, okay? Your kiddo does not need to be doing hours worth of homework every single night. It's just putting more stress on you and your kiddo, and they're not really learning anything from that homework if they're struggling that much. So please reach out to your team, reach out to our team here at Family Matters, and communicate that issue about homework. I believe we have a podcast recorded on our podcast provider about a structured homework routine. So if you would like to learn more about that, it is available on our podcast platform. So communication tools. Let's talk a little bit about what kind of tools we can use. Behavior charts are popular. Okay, so sometimes schools keep some type of behavioral charting system. You can ask for copies of that each week to see how your kiddo's doing. You can even replicate those behavior charts at home and put it on the fridge or whatever else, as long as you know it's been successful with your kiddo. Sometimes behavioral charts are more stress for our kids than they are help. So make sure we're communicating that back and forth. Communication notebook. These are kind of phasing out a little bit with our new apps that we have, but a dedicated notebook for daily notes or weekly notes or questions or observations. Like maybe you're seeing Johnny do homework at home and you're noticing that, oh, he's really struggling with keeping the steps in math separated. Jot that down and send it back to the teacher in this type of notebook or your digital apps and platforms, which we'll talk about next. Most school districts in Illinois have one digital app or platform they utilize. They prefer that one app. Ask or see if it's in your handbook so that you know you have access to that and you can communicate back with your team. Now, if you're a professional watching this, if you're someone that's in the teaching or educational aspect at a school district, make sure that your parents understand they can utilize these apps, but also have a second backup. So some of our parents have way too many apps on our phone anyway. Maybe we've got the doctor's office for therapy, we've got this and we've got that. We don't have time to put another app, or maybe our phone's not compatible, or maybe our phones, we don't have the service on our phone to have an app all the time. So make sure there's a backup way you can communicate. So maybe first one's that digital, second one is that communication notebook, but have a way that you can successfully communicate with parents. I like weekly check-ins with my student. I only have one kiddo still in high school. The rest of mine are in college or are phased out to working. So I keep in contact with her probably more than I should because I don't have 4 other kids. I don't have 3 other kids to manage anymore. So I schedule like a weekly check-in. How's E doing on his math? I know that's a big struggle, or it's finals this week. So she messaged me last night on our messaging app. It's finals this week. E's really struggling in algebra. I sent home the study guide for you to take to make sure that he studies. Okay, so that's really helpful to me that she pointed that out. And of course, visual schedules. You can't go wrong with visual schedules. I'm a 42-year-old adult. I'm not neurodivergent, but I have probably 15 visual schedules around my house because they're comforting, they're predictable, and they're helpful for me. So visual schedules are picture-based schedules that really talks about first, second, third, fourth, and it really breaks them down. So consider if they are using a visual schedule in school, can you integrate a visual schedule at home? Is that a way that you can help your daughter to remember to take the trash out after dinner each night? Visual schedules are wonderful. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about building a strong school-home partnership. So of course, like we said, schedule regular check-ins, whether that's for you going to be weekly, monthly, but establish that regular schedule with your educational provider so you guys know when it's coming. So you're not overtaking their time. That you're not doing it too little. Schedule that check-in, and also talk about ways to check in if things are going south so that you know that. I found a schedule that worked for me. You can find a schedule that works for you too. So every Friday I check my kiddos' grades. I see where we're struggling or what's missing, and we make a plan for action over the weekend. That's something I've done with my kids for a long time. It's been very successful, but communicate with your team about what's going to work best with you. So, and also share what's working at home. If I find that E does well listening to music while he does his math, I'm going to share that with my teacher. I'm going to share that. And I'm also going to share positive behaviors. So, study guide for algebra last night was killing us, right? Like he was really struggling. It was like a 10-page study guide. And he can use that study guide when he takes the final tomorrow. So it's very important that he have it done, completed, and correct. So he was getting frustrated about page 3. He was like done. He was preaching advocacy to me. He was like, "Hey mom, I've got that accommodation in my IEP where I do 25% less of work than other students do when it comes to math, and I really think I need that. Why am I doing all these pages?" So he was giving it back, and he was getting frustrated. I could tell. So we took a break. We took a deep breath. We did another activity. We came back to the table, and I compromised with him. I said, "You, for every page of math you give me, get 15 minutes on YouTube." And so he did everything because he wanted to work for that 15 minutes. So I shared that with his teacher. She shared back with me, "I see that working a lot for him. Let's write this into his IEP." It's a good example. So ask about those strategies at school that work. There's a good chance they're going to work for you at home too. Align those goals and expectations. So work together to set clear, unified objectives for your students' development. Request progress updates. You're going to naturally get progress updates. I say this almost every time I do a training, but if your student has an IEP and they have goals in their IEP, you're going to receive progress updates, or you should be receiving progress updates as often as you get a report card. So you're going to get I don't know, when do report cards come? Every 6 weeks or whatever. You're going to get the report card or progress reports that says, math's an A, band's a C, whatever. Along with that is going to be your IEP progress goals. They're going to say, you got to be 100% by May. We're at 30% now. That way you can judge if there's adequate progress happening. Because if you're going to supposed to be mastering this in December and you're only at 20%, we need to be having a meeting to talk about things, right? So really check out that progress. For our students that don't have direct IEP goals, they have a 504 plan, or they don't have any type of plan quite yet, or maybe they don't need one, watch those grades. Okay, watch those grades, find a system that works for you so you can check in once a week or whatever to watch your kiddos' grades to see how they're doing. And maintain open-mindedness and willingness to discuss challenges and solutions. Okay, there's going to be sometimes teachers tell you things you don't want to hear. There's going to be sometimes you think you could do it differently or better, but we are all a team. Okay, we're going to come to this table with a productive mindset. We're going to work together. We're going to collaborate. So come in here and be open to feedback. Listen to what the teacher's telling you, and they're going to listen to what you are saying back as well. So let's talk about coordinating with behavioral providers. So if you see a specialist outside the school district, it is very important that you're sharing this information with your team so that we can align. I tell parents a lot that a medical diagnosis and an educational plan are two very different things. They different criteria on both, but any type of outside assessments that you've completed or evaluations that you've completed should be very closely related to schools' evaluations and data that they have collected. They should not be too far off from each other. They're not going to be twins. Okay, they're not going to be identical twins, but you can tell that they're at least brother and sister, that they're definitely related. So if you are working with an outside partner or provider and they're saying, "I think that this needs to be happening for your student," share that with your IEP team to see how we can meet the same support at school. Now, I will be very clear. Just because a doctor writes a note for a certain type of service at school doesn't mean that they have to follow through. There's a slight difference if it's medically necessary. But let's say your doctor says, "Johnny needs speech services because of this." The school still has to take that information that's provided by your doctor and consider it. That's what Illinois School Code and IDEA say they need to do. They need to consider it. That doesn't mean they have to completely impose speech services right away, but they have to consider why the doctor may want it. They may need to do some evaluations based on the doctor asking for this, but your outside evaluations and outside supports should mirror what's going on at school. So if you're seeing an outside behavioral therapist and they're saying, "This is what I think he needs," or "This is what I want you doing at home," share that with your IEP team, guys. Share that with your 504 team so that everybody understands what our expectations for our student is. Share that data collection too. Okay, when you get those progress notes from school, when you get those reports of attendance or behavior from school, share that with your outside team if you have one, and vice versa. Make sure you communicate things as quickly as you can. Okay, if there's a glitch in the matrix, if your kiddo's changing meds, if if something at home is going on you think could possibly impact their daily life at school, share that with the team so that we can align those supports. We want to make sure that all of our interventions are working together successfully because we are a unified team to help support our student. Let's talk a little bit about implementing positive reinforcement. So be specific in with your praise for your student. So highlight exactly what behavior you appreciate. So I might say, Gracie, I'm so happy that you completed your math work today. I loved that you helped put away your toys. So be very specific, even for our students that are non-speaking, about what behavior you're praising. Use immediate rewards when you can. Now, I understand there's token systems. Those are great things to build upon, but immediate reward can even be a high five or a smile. So give praise, give an immediate reward, and then maybe move on to your token system if that's what you have in place. But delivering that reward directly and immediately will help reinforce in our mind that behavior is what we need to be doing. So, like I said, token systems can be really valuable for a lot of parents. A lot of school districts use them. If you are using a token system, it should have been talked about in an IEP meeting or 504 meeting, of course. There are natural reward systems that happen at school too, like for kids that don't miss more than 3 assignments, they get a pizza party, that type of thing. But whatever token system is happening, make sure it's something you're comfortable with replicating at home. All right. So if Michelle is earning token systems, if she's earning fake dollars to earn a certain prize at school, make sure we're replicating that at home in some way. It might not be the same type of prize, but we're reinforcing that token system. So celebrate the small wins. Okay. So it is absolutely fine to do that. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Let's do a dance party in the living room. Celebrate those small wins and stay positive and patient. Behavior intervention plans do not fix the behavior overnight. Okay, guys, these plans are talked about every year for a reason, because sometimes they need a little mix up. They need a little tweaking to be successful. So they are not going to fix these things overnight. And just because it doesn't work once doesn't mean it isn't going to work forever. Try it a couple times. If you've tried it a couple times and it's still not working, come back to the table as a team and talk about, this is not working for my kiddo. What can we do differently? So I'm a parent of a student that has had very challenging behaviors at times. Okay. And it is hard. It is hard. My oldest son has went through spells where he's had aggressive behavior, elopement behavior, self-injurious behavior. This is not something to be ashamed of. This is not something to hide away from. Okay. This happens to lots of different parents. It does not make you a bad parent, does not make your kid a bad kid because we're having these behaviors. Challenging behaviors have a big root in disabilities, and challenging behaviors are almost always connected to a lack of communication. We have a saying in the behavioral world that all behavior equals is a form of communication. If I could get that tattooed on my forehead and still have a job, I would. Okay. If kiddo's having behavior, he's communicating an unmet need. That is what's happening. It's important that you as a family look at the behaviors that are happening, those really significant, challenging behaviors. And I'm not talking about forgetting to take out the trash. I'm talking about property destruction, verbal abuse, physical aggression, self-injurious behavior, elopement behaviors. Look at those challenging behaviors and think about what I can do to help. Okay, so I want you to stay calm and consistent. Model that you are calm in this situation, because your student will start to respond to also calm down. Try to be predictable about your response and establish plans to reduce any confusion with your student. Use very clear consequences, okay, that are relevant and timely. Okay, we can't say, if you don't calm down, you can't go to Disney World at the end of the year. It's not going to help anything in a crisis situation where these challenging behaviors are arising. Redirect the attention. So not just for your student, but other students around that are watching it. Okay. So there's a big problem sometimes with these big challenging behaviors. They bring in a show, right? Everybody wants to watch it. I'm a parent that's had that kid that's had that behavior in Walmart before. Only my kid's 22. So it's a little different looking, right? Try to redirect the attention, tell observers, I got this, we got this, please just, walk away. But try to shift that focus back into calm your student down, to calm your child down in that moment. Take a break when you're needed. It's okay to tap out, mom. Okay. It's okay just to look at dad and say, I need a minute. I got to walk away from this. That's better than screaming back. Then, it's a better way to de-escalate. And don't ever be afraid to contact support. Okay, I was a parent that was very reluctant to contact support because I was afraid of the unknown. You know, what was going to happen if I had to call backup? What was going to happen if I had to reach out for help or tell the doctor what's happening at home? Don't be afraid of the unknown. There's a lot of supports out there for parents like us. We just have to ask for it, and we have to get comfortable with asking for it. Okay. This is in our society a thing that we kind of hide away and we don't talk about a lot, but these types of behaviors are not typical with our children. It does not mean that we are a bad parent, that our parents are having these behaviors. It does not mean that they're bad kids. Okay, so it's okay to ask for help, and there'll be a lot of resources. I mean, email you today after the presentation, different ways to assess a crisis situation and ask for help if you need it. Take a break and breathe. Okay. Recognize your stress signals. Okay. If you walk up and you're really aggravated about the situation and you can feel in your body. So I teach social skills in local school districts around me. You're going to have an emotion. Okay. And you can feel that emotion. So there's a difference between emotions and feelings. You're going to have an emotion. Maybe your emotion is you are stressed out, you're mad, you're angry, you have that emotion, you're going to feel it in your body. Okay. What's happening in your body when you get mad? What happens in your body when you get stressed? Learn to recognize those signals so that you know that you need to figure out a way to de-escalate yourself before you address the behavior. So practice deep breathing, engage in simple breathing exercises to quickly center yourself and calm your nervous system. If you're not clear-headed, you can't fix the problem that's going on. Okay. Stay away when you need to. Physically remove yourself from the challenging situation for a brief moment to regain perspective. And I know that's hard when our kiddos having self-injurious behaviors. I know that's hard when they're wanting to elope, but we got to find a way to do it. Okay. I get it. So, once your child is safe, or once you can call in support to help your child be safe, it's okay to walk away and take a breath. That doesn't make you a bad parent. It is not your job to fix everything. Okay. That's not what parenting means. Use calming phrases, okay, not just to your student you're working with or your child, but for yourself as well. It's okay, Abby. It's just having a moment. It's okay to take a breath. It's okay to give him the Cheetos for the moment. Calm down. Model self-regulation in yourself, Dad, so that your kiddo can pick that up too. Same for you, mom or auntie or grandma, whoever's in that caregiving role, or parent or teacher. Model those self-regulation behaviors in yourself, and they are going to carry over for our students. Remember, it's okay to pause, and remember, it's okay to ask for help. Your mental health benefits your entire family. Remember, you're not alone. Consistency takes time. Don't expect instant results. Celebrate every step you can. Seek support when you need it, whether that be from an educator, a therapist, a doctor, or other crisis services here in our state that can support you. And partner with your school to be successful. Okay, so if the school's got something in place that you do not think is okay for your kiddo, don't just not do it at home. Come to the table and talk about why you think it's not okay and why you don't think that's appropriate for your kiddo. So here's some helpful resources and support like we talked about. So navigating behavior challenges in parenting can be demanding, but there are many helpful resources and support systems available. So local parent support group networks are helpful, online forums as well. Organizations like CHAD, I love CHAD, Autism Speaks, or other autism resources. There is a national suicide help and prevention line should you need it. There's a crisis text line as well. There's local mental health emergency services. You can always call the police department as well if you feel like you're in danger or your child's in danger. Understood.org is one of the best online resources to understand more about disabilities and special education for our kiddos. PBS parents, of course. There's professional services. You can reach out to a BCBA. Sometimes you can even reach out through them through your school. So if you guys are having still some pretty big problems, you can request a BCBA to take a peek at your case. So there's lots of different things here. You do get a copy of today's presentation emailed to you. So these links and will be available to you that way. So before we wrap up today, I want to encourage you to please take 2 seconds and take out your phone if you've got it, do a screenshot of this QR code and take our survey. We are a federally funded parent training and information center, so therefore we have to collect survey data. We have to know that the information and the product we're pushing out there is good and helpful for you, and we want to know what else you think would be helpful as well. So surveys help us keep our funding and help us make sure we are doing a good job. It's short, it's easy to do. If you do not have a phone that is QR code acceptable, or if you're watching today's presentation from a phone, I will email you a link after today's video is over, so you don't have to worry about that, or you'll get a pop-up link when Zoom is done with you today. So we please ask that all 11 of you, I can see 11 people on here, take that survey after today's presentation. So at this time, I'm going to close the recording. Please don't leave if you have questions. We'll talk about those, but thank you so much for attending today's presentation and watching with us. We've really enjoyed having you here and learning more about making sure those behavior plans or those behavior policies that are happening at school follow over to the home environment. Thank you.